We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, the podcast where we dive into the art of songwriting, celebrate the artists behind the music and explore the stories that bring their songs to life. I'm your host, Simon Fink, and as always, thank you for joining us. Our guest today on the podcast is the incredible Sharon Van Etten. A celebrated indie rock singer-songwriter, Sharon has released 6 studio records and collaborated with the likes of Angel Olsen, Aaron and Bryce Dessner from The National, and Bon Iver. But today marks the beginning of a brand new chapter as we receive the debut album from her newly formed band, Sharon Van Etten and the Attachment Theory. This new project, featuring Sharon, Jorge Balbi, Devra Hoff and Teeny Lieberson, sees the group collaboratively crafting a record that builds upon Sharon's signature sound while pushing sonic boundaries in exciting new ways. In today's episode, we chat with Sharon Van Etten about this self-titled debut and what led to the decision to release this album as a full band effort. We discuss the experience of writing and creating collaboratively, how they aligned on thematic and sonic choices, and of course, we try to find out whether Sharon and the band will be making their way to Australia at some point this year. Now, we want to say a huge thank you to Jaja for her help with today's episode, and remind everyone that the debut record from Sharon Van Etten and the Attachment Theory is out right now, and you can find links in the show notes on where you can purchase the vinyl. While you're there, don't forget to follow us across our socials, subscribe to the podcast, and if you're feeling generous, maybe even leave us a 5-star rating. It does all help. But let's get into today's episode. Here is our conversation with Sharon Van Etten and the Attachment Theory.
Will you see me in the afterlife? Will you tell me what you think it's like? Come and tell me it'll be alright.
Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Sharon Van Etten from Sharon Van Etten and the Attachment Theory. Sharon, hello. How's it going?
Hi, Simon. I'm good. How are you?
Doing very well. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming to join us and having a chat about this brand new record. Very excited that you're here to kind of have a chat with us.
I'm excited to flesh things out and get to know you.
It's a different kind of record for you this time around. Look, I'll from the get-go, I'll be very transparent. Big fan of Sharon Van Etten. Tramp, great record. Are We There? Great record. So many fantastic records from yourself, but this one is different in terms of that it is not just yourself, it's a band this time around, which is both, I imagine putting out a record is not new to you, but putting out a record as a unit is somewhat of a new thing. First off, has this process of getting ready for album release, doing promo, all of that, has that changed this time around with this self-titled record?
Well, for the release aspect of the album, I definitely wanted to engage my bandmates when they can so that I'm not the only talking head as we promote the record. But they're all have their own projects. So just learning when to include, how to include, and making sure that the message is clear that this is a record that we made together and that it is a collaborative piece. And it's just really hard to bring everybody in sometimes to talk. And sometimes people don't enjoy interviews. so for that part of the interview process is interesting. But I'm also learning how to talk about our work as a collective, and that's new for me.
100%. And it might be a silly question. It might be going back to high school days or something like that. Is this your first time within a band?
Yes.
It's very exciting. Is there anything that you've maybe from the get-go learnt about the band dynamic that you thought maybe wasn't the case, or it changed your perception of maybe how a band operates?
I was always very intimidated by musicians that had been in bands before, had any kind of band history, even just being in a jazz band or in a collective of some kind, or went to school for it. And I don't know how to talk about keys or time and I'm much more by feel. And when I was younger, I didn't understand that it's good to have both minds in the room, because you think about music differently, but you can meet each other in the middle and actually do things that the other person can't. And it's a different kind of intuitive nature in writing. I wish I had been in a band younger, but I was in musicals and choir, and I was very solo and insular and shy. And I think I would shut my door and play guitar and write songs about my feelings that I didn't know how to talk to anybody about. And as I allowed people to help me and support me over the years and learn how to play in a band supporting my music, I realized that I had brought a group of musicians together that were inspiring me, not just in the live setting, but in the writing setting. And I hadn't had that before. And when we were practicing for the last record we've been going about this all wrong, I was very inspired by the sonic palette that we put together for tour. And I think that's when I knew that I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to challenge myself creatively so that I could. I don't want to keep writing the same record over and over again, and I wanted to show the love and respect to my bandmates.
Of course, which I think is totally fair as well. There's an element of, as an artist, you want to be able to evolve and grow and try new things and see where they kind of land. Do you remember the conversation with your band members and how it was received from their side? Because I imagine it is, you are a very successful singer-songwriter, like an artist, and I imagine that this isn't the case for a lot of touring bands, that they get the opportunity to be able to take that one step further and be able to contribute to the art that they're helping kind of make and play.
As I alluded to earlier, they've been in other bands, and they have been making music with other people longer than I've probably even tried to put together a touring band. So I feel like it was the natural progression, and we were rehearsing in the desert and learning how to take the songs from We've Been Going About This All Wrong, and how do we take the album into the live setting. And we were rehearsing for about a week, and I got really tired of hearing myself. And I asked them if we could take a break, when we came back, could we just jam? And the joke is that I hate that word. It has all these negative connotations to it. But in the moment, I couldn't find a better word for what I wanted to do. And they didn't bat an eye. They were like, well, yeah, sure. You feel like we're good with the songs for tour because it's like 2 hours worth of material or something. And it's like, yes, like I want to shake that off and just start from scratch, and it doesn't have to be for anything. I just want to play. And we ended up writing 2 songs in like an hour. And that was Southern Life and I Can't Imagine. And I was so inspired by that time together that I knew that I wanted to do that again. But that would be my next endeavor for a record, was to approach the songwriting in that way, because I was able to let go as a singer in a way I never had before, because I wasn't necessarily tied to an instrument. I was able to listen to what they were playing and guide them and talk about where the songs could go. And we were just in a circle together. Like, they were circling around me and I was in the middle of the microphone and like just conducting. It was magic, and it felt effortless at the time. And I felt like they really trusted me.
I absolutely love that. There's definitely a sense of, we've been very lucky enough to have a listen to the record before it is coming out this week. There is a beautiful kind of chemistry almost in the songs that I think you can audibly hear. There's this beautiful blend of instrumentation where it seems like everyone is kind of working in unison as one, if you will. I was hoping to maybe be a little bit self-indulgent and maybe ask about my favorite track on the record. I really loved Something Ain't Right. the track kind of builds. It has, what is it? It's like a classic rock style guitar solo near the end, but it has synths that kind of seem to circle around the song and build and swell, and then like this swell at the end alongside with the guitar solo. And then I want to say almost like new wavy drums as well. It is a stunning track. Wondering whether you might be able to share where it came from or how that track came to be.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, that one was super fun. That was kind of a nod to Pylon a little bit. But I just remember Teeny Lieberson, who plays synth and sings, she had this really cool synthesizer happening. And then my drummer Jorge just came in with a beat on top of it. And I just remember I was jumping around. And like just the way of the world, I say tongue-in-cheek phrases all the time about, something's not really right. Like you just walk outside or, it's just like everything's pollution, the sky is super dark, and, there's an air that just nothing's perfect. And so I kept repeating that phrase but wanting it to feel fun at the same time to kind of counter the darkness of what I was actually writing about. And I hadn't really thought of the chorus yet, and it was the first time that I asked a bandmate to help me finish lyrics. And my bandmate Devra Hoff, who plays bass, who's an incredible bass player, just very melodic and can be emotional as well as super drivey and intense, but also can just meet me emotively on stage. Dev has punk roots, and I feel like a lot of these songs just have that thread of aggression, and I'm like walking the line of being political, and I've always veered away from that because I tend to be more emotive in relationships and everything, but I felt like I had to acknowledge the times a little bit. Mm. And so Dev helped me with wrote the lyrics for that chorus that says, "Do you believe in compassion for enemies? Who is to blame when it falls to decay?" And just a nod to the darkness, but also trying to have compassion at the same time. Just the question of if that can exist. Did that answer your question?
100% did. I love that. Thank you very much for indulging me. It is, I think that was the other aspect of it as well. The line that you mentioned, which I do have written down in my notes, was the tone of the song. The lyrical tone of the song is almost juxtaposed with the building and swirling of it. It kind of does add to it. And I know that on other songs across the record, there's themes of love, loss. There's themes of, I guess, the end in a way. I know that the album almost starts off with the 1-2 kick of like live forever and then afterlife, which for a listener gives you a lot to think about in just the first part of the album, which is really incredible. In terms of themes, was that discussed with the bandmates? Do you kind of go, guys, this is what we're looking at? Or is it still, and I imagine you're still driving the vehicle in a way. It is still very much a Sharon Van Etten record. But yeah, curious, I guess, the input that they have in terms of how it shapes the theme and those things that you're wanting to get across, as you said, being political, and whether then that is a further step.
I think part of it came just from my subconscious, from conversations we were all just having. I mean, about even just the place in our lives where we are. I mean, the age range of my band is late 30s to early 50s. And we're at a time in our lives where, we're taking care of parents while we're also parents. And I think we're just talking more openly about our mortality and our health and self-care and what's going on in the world. And sometimes feeling hopeless, but also when you just focus on your smaller group, it also feels very hopeful and you have a greater sense of community because of it. And so we had all these conversations along the way. But in the writing process, I feel like that came out in my stream of conscious style of writing, which I still tend to do even with a group. And I was curious even how that would unfold as we all were in a room together, but that's still how I find melodies and I shape songs. And so in a way, like, that part of my writing is being the singer is like, was my main instrument. And I played keys and some guitar and stuff, but the main part of the writing process with the band in the room was me shaping my melody as we're coming up with chords together. And then I also had this way of saying, okay, we're fielding, writing, but let's not finish it in the room so that when we take these songs to the studio, we have more to work with when they're in the space. And let's collect as many ideas while we have the spark of the writing part, so that then we have songs to choose from within a group of songs. So we wrote almost 20 songs in 2 weeks. And then I think we talked about what all the songs were about. Some songs lyrically weren't done. Some had an obvious vibe. Like Live Forever was one of those freak songs that we wrote from start to finish in a day. Everything. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, well, this has to be the opener. This says everything about what we're about to do. And so I don't know, it was all a little bit different. Like Fading Beauty is definitely one of those songs where, you know, my father-in-law has been struggling with dementia, and, you know, I could see multi-generational, from him to my partner, to his siblings, to his wife, to my son, and just like see the beauty in every level of the generations that are in the same room together in all stages of our life. And anyway, that's definitely a common theme.
I absolutely love that. Thank you very much for sharing with us, because it is the one thing that I've always very much appreciated about Sharon Van Etten and her songwriting is the honest and kind of candid nature of, I guess, some almost holding up a mirror to us as a society, and not in a necessarily overtly political way, but more so just in terms of life. As you said, it is a very interesting time, especially for people in their mid-30s and then upwards, I guess. Very curious to kind of discuss. I know that it's been, I want to say, 2 years almost, I think, since you last graced us in Australia with some shows. Curious whether we might be able to see yourself and The Attachment Theory here in Australia in 2025 in any kind of capacity behind the record.
If it's 2025, it would be the end of the year, but it could be the top of 26. So okay. I am working on it, and we're definitely coming on this record. And we love touring Australia and New Zealand, and just can't wait to be back out that way. We feel the love out there, and I love it there.
You are very well beloved here, and so we're very excited for whenever those shows may be to kind of to see where they are and obviously promote them on the podcast as well. Sharon, we usually end conversations asking, I guess, what they're currently listening to for yourself. Is there anything that is on high rotation at the moment?
Well, the last thing I listened to, what was the last thing I listened to? I actually been listening to a lot of She Keeps Bees, because we just started making some music together, but they're old friends of mine from New York, and I just got to hear a batch of their new songs that I'm really, really excited for the world to hear at some point. That She Keeps Bees is a wonderful band that lives in New York that I came up with almost 20 years ago.
Very, very exciting. We will definitely have to give them a plug and make sure that their Spotify or wherever they keep their music is linked in the show notes for today's episode as well.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course. Sharon, thank you so much for coming to chat to us on the podcast about the brand new record from yourself and The Attachment Theory. It is the album title is Sharon Van Etten and The Attachment Theory. It is an incredible record. It's out this week, and it'll be in the show notes for people to purchase, stream, catch you on tour throughout the world. But thank you again for coming to chat to us.
Thank you. I appreciate you.